Have you ever wondered why some professionals consistently excel in their fields, while others seem to stumble on avoidable mistakes? Imagine a world where these errors not only affect your reputation, but also have life-altering consequences. Join me on a journey as we delve into the intriguing realm of the Checklist Manifesto by Dr. Atul Gawande, a book that uncovers the hidden power of a simple yet profound tool. In this video, we'll explore how checklists have transformed high-stakes industries, saved lives, and even elevated everyday tasks to a level of excellence you might not have imagined. Get ready to unlock the secrets behind the discipline of top professionals and discover how a checklist can be your key to success, whether you're in surgery, aviation, or simply striving for perfection in your work. I don't know about you, but I hate it when I send an important email and I forget to check for spelling mistakes, or I deliver a report to a client and I'm missing a darn page. I don't make these mistakes due to a lack of experience. I've avoided making these mistakes 100 times before, but for some reason, this time, I forgot to verify my work, and I fear looking like an amateur author. Atul Gawande hates making these avoidable errors too, but his errors don't just hurt his reputation. They can end people's lives. Gawande is a surgeon, and when he makes small oversights like forgetting to wash his hands before surgery or forgetting to make sure that there's enough reserve blood on hand, it puts his patient's life in jeopardy. Despite the advancements in surgery and the number of surgeries performed every year, more than 150,000 Americans die each year during surgery. Author Atul Gawande says that research consistently shows that half of all deaths and major complications during surgery are due to avoidable human error. Errors like not washing your hands or failing to confirm that there's enough reserve blood on hand before surgery. Having so many lives lost to avoidable errors in the operating room is just unacceptable. So, Gawande set out to find a solution. He searched for other high-stakes professions that have severely minimized human error and have maintained a reputation for excellence despite operating in a risky and complex environment. On his quest, he interviewed leaders from the construction and aviation industries, two industries rich with complexity and danger, but two industries where catastrophic events rarely occur. The construction industry has a building failure rate of only 0.00002%. That means only 1 in every 50,000 structures partially or entirely collapses due to avoidable human error. And despite how complex an aircraft is, the odds of being killed on a single airline flight are 1 in 29.4 million. Both industries have an excellent track record because they've developed a habit of consulting a checklist before completing important tasks and making critical decisions. The construction industry uses checklists throughout the building process to ensure that work meets building standards. A structural engineer who has built hundreds of similar buildings and is considered a master of their craft still consults a checklist every time he lays a foundation or starts construction on a new floor of a building. Despite hundreds of flights and thousands of hours of training, a veteran pilot still consults a checklist before making any major decision. For example, shortly after Captain Sully left from LaGuardia Airport on the morning of January 15, 2009, he struck a flock of geese and lost both engines on his aircraft. Despite the intense panic and the pressure to make a quick decision, he and his co-pilot consulted a checklist before taking their next action. After going through a checklist to accurately assess the situation, he could confidently make the decision to land the plane in the Hudson River and save everyone on board. Both industries understand an uncomfortable truth. We humans are flawed decision makers and have unreliable memories. We may know what's best, and we may have vast experience to back us up, but we will always forget small details and miss important steps. Atul Gawande says for generations after the first aviation checklist went into use, a lesson is emerging. Checklists seem able to defend anyone, even the experienced, against failure and many more tasks than we realized. They provide a kind of cognitive net. They catch mental flaws inherent in all of us, flaws of memory, attention, and thoroughness. Without checklists, builders and pilots would not have the excellent track record they have, and the general public wouldn't trust them. It's their discipline to consult checklists, no matter how familiar they are with their jobs, that makes them responsible professionals. Atul Gawande took his findings from both industries and started making checklists for surgeons in the operating room. After 3 months of surgeons and nurses using a checklist for every operation, major complications due to avoidable human error dropped by 36%, and deaths fell by 47%. How did this happen? Well, before each surgery, a nurse would read off each item of a checklist out loud and then use a pen to check off each item manually. The items on the list were as simple as verifying that the correct patient is on the table. The doctors and nurses never skipped an item, and they delayed surgery until every item on the list was verified. Like most people, the doctors put up a lot of resistance to using a checklist. They were sophisticated professionals, after all. But once they started seeing the effect it had and the disasters it prevented, they learned to embrace checklists. It was humbling for doctors to realize that, despite their extensive training, large number of surgeries performed, and relatively high IQs, they were still prone to forgetting simple things and making common oversights. Now, you may not be saving lives, but you can develop an excellent track record of producing high-quality work by developing the discipline to consult a checklist before issuing important projects or making critical decisions. But if your checklists are subpar, you'll resist using them and you'll continue to release work with errors, and people will doubt the professionalism of your work. To find out how to make awesome and reliable checklists, let's turn to a checklist expert, Boeing engineer Daniel Borman, a man who makes checklists for a living. Dan identifies 4 components of every useful checklist. A useful checklist has a clear pause point, a particular point in time where you know to pause and complete the checklist. For example, I use a checklist when releasing a video on YouTube to verify that the video's description is consistent and that the links are working. The pause point is just before I hit the publish button on a new video. A useful checklist is speedy. Dan Borman recommends that each checklist be less than 60 seconds to complete. Any longer, and you'll resist doing it, or you'll start taking shortcuts. To make a checklist speedy, you should aim for 5 to 9 killer items. A killer item is an item that, if missed, would give the impression of poor quality or would have a negative impact on another person's life. A useful checklist is a supplement to existing knowledge and expertise. A checklist should not allow you to turn your brain off and execute a task like a robot. Each item should be a short and concise reminder, a way of triggering a familiar routine. A useful checklist is field-tested and continually updated. A checklist should be practical and based on actual experiences. If it's not, you won't trust it. An ideal checklist is made up of past failures and lessons learned. So, if you develop the discipline to consult a well-made checklist, a checklist that has these 4 components before hitting send on an important project or making an important decision, you can reduce your anxiety and cultivate the reputation for releasing high-quality work. The discipline to use the checklist signals the difference between being an amateur and a professional. In his book, The Checklist Manifesto, Atul Gawande takes us on a journey through the power of checklists in various high-stakes professions, revealing valuable lessons that can be applied to our own lives. Let's delve into the key takeaways from this insightful book. Lesson 1. The humility of checklists. Gawande emphasizes that even experts can benefit from checklists. Regardless of our experience or intelligence, we are all prone to making mistakes and forgetting critical steps. Acknowledging this fact and humbly accepting the aid of a checklist can lead to better outcomes. Lesson 2. Reducing human error. Human errors can have severe consequences as illustrated in the medical field. Checklists help reduce these errors by providing a structured approach to tasks. By incorporating checklists into our routines, we can minimize errors and improve the quality of our work. Lesson 3. The power of preparedness. Checklists serve as a tool for preparedness. They ensure that no crucial steps are overlooked, even in high-pressure situations. Gawande's example of Captain Sully successfully landing a plane in the Hudson River demonstrates how checklists can save lives by guiding us through crisis moments. Lesson 4. Consistency and standards. Checklists establish a standard process for tasks. In industries like aviation and construction, adhering to these standards is paramount. Applying this lesson to our own endeavors can lead to more consistent and high-quality results. Lesson 5. Adaptation and continuous improvement. Checklists are not static. They evolve with experience. Gawande emphasizes the importance of field testing and updating checklists based on real-world experiences. This adaptability ensures that checklists remain effective tools for achieving excellence,